Welcome back, Superstar, to part 2 of time management strategies for coaches and consultants. This video, we're going to get into organizing, planning, and structuring your schedule. This video is all about organizing and structuring yourself in order to be more productive and also to have more joy and energy richness in your schedule. So I'm going to start with one really critical reframe or perspective shift. Then I'm going to dive into 7 specific strategies and structuring tools that you can use that have dramatically helped me and my relationship to time. So one of the biggest problems that I faced myself and that I see others face is that they get so caught up in the needs of others, and especially as coaches and consultants, that's what we do. We care about others and we help others. And so we can sometimes forget about ourselves. We can sometimes lose our own priorities, projects, health, and well-being because we're so busy focusing on everybody else. And often, and this is true of everybody, I think, we get caught up in the busy work of life and then don't get a handle on the things that really matter to us. So the first thing I want to talk about is just a reframe. I'm not going to do the experiment or the little exercise activity here, although I did think about it. But I want you to, after you're done with this video, go and do a search for rocks, pebbles, sand, and time. And you're gonna see a whole bunch of different experiments and people showing you how you can fit more into a container. You can fit more rocks, pebbles, and sand into a container if you put the rocks, the big pieces, in first, then you fill in the pebbles, and then you put in the sand at the end. And that's a metaphor for your time. What can often happen is that we let our time get filled up with all the busy work, with all the sand, all the things that don't matter that much in life, and we dump that in first, and then we try to fit the pebbles and the rocks, the really important things, in last, like time with our family or vacations or free time to rest and renew. Those things need to be put into your life first, and then we schedule all the work around that. So that's the first big shift we're gonna make, is that we are gonna approach your time, our time, from the perspective of what matters the most and getting that in first. And then in the third video in this season, I'm gonna walk you through actually doing this in real time together so that you can get a handle on your current life right now. But before we do that, we need to do this step first, which is planning your ideal schedule. Here we go. Here are the 7 things you can do to organize and structure your time more effectively. The first is to get an external calendar. A lot of times we try to keep track of everything in our heads. And if you haven't figured this out by now, our head can't really hold all that many things all at once. So we have to get an external calendar. And specifically, I recommend Google Calendar. I resisted Google Calendar for a really long time. I resisted all of the Google stuff. And I found that Google Calendar is the most widely compatible with everything. It's the most reliable. It allows you to color code things. It syncs with everything. It's really a great tool. And so I highly recommend it. An external calendar. Getting it out of your head and into something physical and structured. Now, by the way, I often run into, at this point, people who have a fear of structure, and they think that if we're gonna put everything into an external calendar, that somehow they'll lose freedom. And I want to just invite you to trust me on this one, that when we do this process together, this video and the next one, you're gonna end up with a lot more freedom. You'll see, especially with number 2. Which number 2 is free time first, which means the first thing you have a nice blank empty calendar, go ahead and book out everything that you want as downtime, free time, vacation time, off time, everything that your little heart desires. I invite you to go ahead and map that out for the whole year. So if you want to take a 3-week vacation in the summer, block out those 3 weeks in the summer. If you want to take a week-long vacation every quarter, block out that exact week. If you want to take open a 3 or 4 day weekend every single month, block out that free time. If every evening you want to be done with work by 5 p.m., block out everything that's after 5 p.m. If you want to make sure that you're going to yoga, that you are walking your dog, I recommend putting all of that into your calendar up front first. That way, what we'll do is we'll fit everything else in around what you know you need to feel good and enjoy yourself. Now, before I get into number 3, because number 3 is a doozy, please go ahead and like my video, subscribe to my channel, maybe even share your comments below. Number 3 is plan your ideal week. I'm going to put weeks, because what I want you to do is create some recurring blocks and chunks in your calendar. So here are a few things to think about as you do this. In your business, there are certain things that you know you need to do. For example, you know you have to have some sales activity. You've got to have marketing activity. You've got to have client meetings, right? So go ahead and look at your weeks and then decide when you want to do each of the things that you know you need to do. Here are my categories. They might be different from yours. I'm going to read from my notes here. I have a category for sales, and I use dark green for that. I have one for self-care. I use peach for that. Client meetings are blue. Performing or presenting or being a star, like what I'm doing today, is purple, because it's my favorite. Travel is in light green. To-dos and task completion are in yellow. And health and workouts, like things that I want, like yoga classes and things like that I want recurring on my calendar, are in gray. Now, why do I use color coding? I use it so that at any moment I can look at my week and I can see the balance of that week. I can see, wow, there's no green on this page, no dark green. I'm not doing any sales activity. Or there's no purple here. I'm not doing anything that's performing or that taps into my star personality, right? Like, you want to be able to look at your week, in my opinion, and see if your week is aligning with what you need it to look like, if there's a balance there. If there's no peach on the page, then I know that I'm not taking very good care of myself. So go ahead and plan out the ideal chunks of time. Like, from Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. are client time. And I book all of my client sessions into that and into Thursdays, right? Sales, Monday afternoons is when I focus on reaching out to prospects and following up with people. So think about your ideal week and all of the activities you need to get done, and book out, my recommendation is book out batches or chunks of time within which you do those activities. Number 4 is, different color, is shorter meetings. My default used to be hour-long meetings. Can you believe that? I have a hard time believing that. And I noticed that it was, I wasn't able to get a lot of things done, and I was taking a lot of time, and these meetings were going long and they were feeling kind of unproductive. So I switched to a 45-minute meeting. Then I switched to a 40-minute meeting. Then I switched to a 30-minute default. Then I switched to a 25-minute default. My current default for every meeting is 25 minutes. And I started offering a 15-minute option to my clients, a laser option. And guess what? Clients take me up on it. And the way I see it is whenever they take a 15-minute meeting, that means I'm saving 10 or 15 minutes from a 25 or 30-minute meeting. So see if you can start to compress your meetings down and train your teams and your clients to meet with you in a more productive and focused fashion. Number 5 is get a booking tool like Calendly or Schedule Once or Acuity, where you can send people a link and they can book on your calendar. You'd be amazed at how much time you'll save by not going back and forth with people by email to schedule meetings. Highly recommend using some sort of booking tool and then setting parameters inside the booking tool, like your shorter duration meetings, having people fill out intake forms so that you know exactly what you're meeting about and you're able to be more laser focused. There are lots of benefits to using a booking tool, and it's a huge time saver. Number 6 is track your KPIs. So this is basically every single week, the things that you said you knew that you needed to do, like sales activity, like meeting with clients, like self-care and all that. I highly recommend tracking what those things are. Like, for example, every week I will make 5 sales outreach calls, and tracking those with a coach or an accountability partner, I think is really, really helpful, which is point number 7. If you have someone that helps to hold you accountable for all this. And you don't need this forever. My opinion is you can do this for just a couple of months and it'll ingrain the new habits into your system, into your team, into your system, into your clients. And then you can sort of back off on this a little bit, maybe meet with your accountability coach once a month or so just to check in on your time. These are my 7 key strategies. There's a lot more than that, and we're gonna dive into some of them on the next video where I'm gonna walk you through how to take control of all the things, all the to-dos that have been on your mind, some of them for years, and how to get a handle on them. So let's go.